He created Antarctica for jaradeng, whereas my uncle, Meena Luto, could not drench my aunt in Gucci, and yet he was home every night. And yet he stayed married to Lamfazi, and yet he went all over with her Wamkera and Garagepes. He made his wife is bench and Wabwa ride or die. So everywhere they used to go with each other. What I'm getting at is that imali and mosha, money illicente. Money made you neglect the important things in life. And money made you disregard the fact that women are willing, if at all you will love them, to ignore if at all you will truly love a woman, she will literally ignore the fact that I'm living in a house that I moved into, in a fence, in a gate. If at all you will show a woman that we're in this for the long haul, she will patiently wait for you to aha your legacy. And by the time the woman is now living in a house, if it is doing no more construction work outside. My aunt never ever got a driver's license, and she's been riding my rehu at my uncle's provision. But if at all she wanted, she would have been taught how to drive. She would have, thanks to now driving, my uncle would have then bought her a car. She just insisted on being a passenger and right? My aunt would have what you call this enjoyed just the joy of being upgraded. And maybe the day might have come finally when everybody's like 67, where she finally buys her first Gucci purse. Because now, umuntu retired, and this is a gift for not silver, but maybe a golden anniversary angas. My uncle's not the best of men, but he has the best example. And he's the only one that stayed married out of everybody. But he also was the one boy out of them all, and the one boy that came from a lowly family that, however, made ends meet and became middle class. And because of his lack of wealth, he wasn't altogether that disrespectful to his wife. Today, my dad, and I keep on puppering my father. Y'all, in the beginning, but towards the end of his life, he had trotted, he had destroyed. He lamatota that don't care about a woman's oomph in the house is important. They don't care. So by divorce, Sanjay, they move from pillar to post. I don't believe my uncle. No, I know for a fact that my uncle has not been faithful to umfaz wakona. Because there were other facets of him that made all kinds of sense. And like I said, he was always very ride or die to her. Mara not in the kinds of prolific capacities. But Basadi, they're always willing to take men back. Remember I told you my dad, I wasn't even finished. My dad rocked up, go jaradeng, and my mother. No, remember I told you that my uncle was not faithful to my aunt. And my dad was also not faithful to my mom. However, when I was at 5, grade 7, he rocked up and my mom appeared open. My mom appeared open to reconciliation. So essentially men can mess up time and time again, but insofar as you show that you can put your tail between your legs and do a better thing, umfazi will, even after all of your heinous acts of indiscretion, thoroughly take you back in if you will just straighten up and fly right. When I bounce back elasticity and magnanimity that dwells inside the bones of women, we've been made very resilient, pertaining the feet of men. But there comes a time when a woman is like, yo, yes, and hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. When a woman is like, this is it, I'm done. And I said to him, no thank you. Why open like Pinelli R. Kelly? When a woman's fed up, yeah, there ain't nothing you can do about it. There comes a time when you can't slip back in anymore. The doors are shut, and my mom got there, and it was upon the doors being entirely shut that we never saw my dad ever again, pretty much until everybody got out of high school. My father was just maintained as this like ludicrous monstrosity that my mom was keeping at an arm's length because she got fed up. Omozame. She was willing to bounce back, like lereke remara, die outie, self-medicated his irresponsibility towards his children and his wife, ex-wife, and his both his ex-wives, because my step mom had one child with him, and then my mom had 2. So my dad in total had like 3 kids in these marriages, and both of them, by the time were like no hadendota. Sure, I mean, if at all you that do where it is that you were not there for any of them, and next, of course you're gonna drink, baga. Of course you're gonna be out dragging on that blunt, and number 3. You're gonna go and try and get yourself a 3rd wife. Once men have been married, they cannot not be married. Mara, now that he realizes that he can't do without it. Once they get married, and so they keep on wreaking havoc in amapilo, unsuspecting women that are to be accommodating people like my dad, because his second wife, second wife, my mom says that she suspects that my dad was cheating on her with her. So frankly, sister girl, I know you don't understand, but you're gonna have to understand, he's my man now. What you had is gone. I think it's sweet. Yeah, when you be out just singing, you're getting in the way of what I'm feeling because you think you Jill Scott. To another woman, now it's let the sister girl be like, okay, shut up, and wait for flames to be shown. Because I compared these men to arsonists. Women are to be getting made firefighters. Hey? Fire extinguisher always like foo 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 all over the show. Fighter the fire because the he will show you flames. Initially woman to woman when she's having an affair with your husband. 3 times while doing his prayers as a Muslim man. I just killed a man. I put a gun against his head. I put a knife in his back. Went in, like stabbed and then twisted the knife and now he's dead, mama. His life just had to go, but now I've gone and thrown mine also away. Chiki will be out just singing some songs from back in the day, hoping that mama gonna be out having her bag. Mara asike go utswa monna keng ha bona re outingana ena ha itlhompe seriti sa mosadi mo jarateng enough to maintain it ejartini because uyabona ukuthi he can't do without it, because now that he's brought you into the space like a comfortable via and he's going to go and do the same nonsense in Sela that he did against the ex, and so now you're going to be the one to take him to the grave. Nishilo ngathi mina ngifuna ukubulala indoda nina wa my ex-wives because I'ma drive a knife into that nasty heart. Ya chichiboya. I'm going to slice it and dice it like the very worm that it is. You know, let's chop her up like stir fry. Man kadalapo. We're saying angzofone lumawam because I get a moga hanadaba. Lofona magada. Kiplomila over his dead body. And be like kupante flatlong arrestang. Because ke bona bona ke bolaile ena ke tana go ntse ke ntse balega ke ngwana modimo a qeta go tlhokafala nna ke mahodimong so go pale tlong ka setopo sena sang Kenya se tlong khisa ntlo ya ka se shwele nkiseng jail re lo bona re long ka persa either zebra stripes or orange, whatever might be the take in that prison. Ke batlanje fela golo boshwa e re ke tsamayeng ke lo boshwa ke lo dila di tshigitse tellang ko tanyane because ba betere ho phala outi ena tekibina. He had it coming. He had it coming. He only had himself to blame. I didn't do it, except I did. I gotta get the phone and say, guy. But since I did it, understand, it was a murder, but not a crime. But I know you're gonna insist it's a crime, so take me. Take me. It was a murder, but not a crime. But I know you're gonna insist that it's a crime, so take me. Dimboshwe, Papa, take me as a prisoner. Nkiseng Tanyana, it's alright. Nkabula Mona, listen, I am certain of it. I would wait for him to bleed out on the floor. Look at that coagulating pool of blood around his head after I drive a tent peg into it like JL, and just wait for him as he's out there gurgling blood. Because I would not want to call the police before then. After all, they might resuscitate him. Vegetable. People insist that his life force be lingering. Then only. Actually, from the spirit realm. His silver cord still attached to him because in that pain. In the spirit realm. His body hovering around on the ceiling. After making like a helium balloon. Go through the ceiling up and away. And then make it for hello, Khata Popo. I just shot a man down in my kitchen and made sure the kids stay in their bed. I would call the police. I wouldn't even run. I wouldn't run. A fugitive. That's gonna put me farther and farther away from God. I would exploit the magnanimity of the Lord. But precisely because of the fact that positioning where I'm going to kill a guy. Because Papa seeing as my life is Mario and I've got 3 lives. And on the 3rd attempt, that's when I then took him out. Busy cast. Cement. Mom get well soon. I'm going to entirely avoid. You tell on your asset in my face. What do you call this thing? Because men like these are to be dissing you for getting older. My dad used to mock my mom. when she was getting fatter because she was pregnant. Men like these be out here noticing that you got your first fine line. They will make it a bulletin board type headline that you popped your first gray. So proper, if at all you can't age in front of this bamboon. Because in the beginning he can wine and dine me, take me to the mall. Driver before. That need 4 people driving it on the controls over there. It's a video game. A man that will buy me a vehicle that needs 4 people to drive it because it's that elaborate. I can that looks like a bus. I don't need a bus. I need love. I will grab it with the strength given me by adrenaline of the Incredible Hulk and just like throw it on you. Your bones crush. The crackling of your bones to verify that you're dead. Then only be like, I threw a bus on my husband because I gained all that strength like the Incredible Hulk because he made me angry and so I got big and green. I would kill a man. Listen, I am not even out here lying. Angizochata indoda ezongigwarela indaba yokuthi ngina 40 whatever mara ngichata, and then when I start to pop grays, when I start to get the first visible signs of aging, when my breasts become pendulous, when my buttock starts to go down south, when my toes become chubby and fat because I'm pregnant by miracle at the age of 48, I'm not gonna have this bugger out here teasing me for looking like a duck waddling around and then say I'm not attracted to you anymore. Ule able to move from lady to lady. A very warm presence of umfazi ejardini, but you've never been able to love it. My mom lived in an Antarctic makaza, bit of a igloo, chilling in a Eskimo. Bit of an Eskimo, sorry, hanging out in an igloo. She was an Eskimo in her marriage, but listen, a very elaborately decorated Eskimo. My mother was indeed colored by the United Colors of Benetton as an Eskimo. Pastel colors are making like a painter. That's how elaborately coated with many colors of designer apparel my mother was rocking as an Eskimo, but nonetheless an Eskimo is an Eskimo is an Eskimo. And Antarctica is an Arctica. A man that has no appreciation, neither respect, neither adoration for the girth of a woman's siriti in a jarata. Uzo is squandara a second time around in his second wife, and then a third in his third wife, and then making like Elizabeth Hurley go on right ahead to hatch your 7th spawns worth of kids in your 7th wife. Then that will move on like musical chairs until women are just not willing to anymore between wives, and then end up alone. Makashalai one in his own apartment where it is that he's living. I one uzokumbula the climate, the presence, the girth, the oomph of umfazi that has now been so fed up that there's nothing that he can do to go back in. Umfazi wake, the one umpatlangangane yo ukhathethe mosadi ukhalanza kunya dipilisi ke chilo ka go diskemba motse ba ka libitso, and they prepare her prescription akena ko moyakong. Otherwise, if they don't do it immediately, they might be here all day. The way adulanga dipilisi ka teng mosadi wana ukhathethe asas ba iskele musogyo khotama STD amasha umqoshile le ndoda ifuna ukuchata mina ngoba nginalutho you but wam batla unkenya jaga teng ya hayi and nahe. In fact, listen, we understand that poor dudes can really love women. Mara, poor dudes can love women insofar as these women, just like my aunt, are also poor, also do. But you don't get to raise a young woman up in a middle-class family because in that birthday you married the mom and taught the mom Gucci. Bese uzo tata, a DKNY high school girl out here rocking all different kinds of designer apparel. Kadi think it's a Puma. Tedi ngetse sabona khaleng in the South African store system. Utlonka a teenage girl like that. Okhona who apara perfume ya Dior. As a 15-year-old, you're not gonna go and grab a Dior perfume wearing 15-year-old girl and then marry her off seeing as she is poor to a guy mara. Listen, I'm only making 2 cents together meet. I will always miss my Dior perfume. I will always miss my Chanel perfume. I will always miss my Banana Republic sweater when I'm now with a guy that's gonna put me in a house and in a tiles. I will always know what I come from. That's always elaborately, beautifully furnished and also with beautiful finishings. I grew up as the daughter of a man and a woman of means. Even though my mom was not of means, my dad was, so it didn't matter. Because my mom became of means and then refused to go back. Because once you train a woman up in certain kinds of lifestyles, abazoba content. If at all my dad was poor and married my mom poor, maybe my mom would have been okay with floors that don't have no tiles. Because that was my grandmother's house as well. For years there were no tiles on the floors, on the walls. Cement is the grey floor, just the foundation, that's it. But then the tiles are plastic. Yeah, my grandmother's house had those kind of tiles. All the way until my grandmother ultimately, when she was still alive, I believe, when my grandmother was still alive, like fagama tiles, where brick, like tiles, okay, the tiles, CTM and everything. Ceramic tile market, yeah. Ufagama ceramic tiles while she was alive, because business earlier keep lidi mayo. It paid off. Ufagama tiles, ugogwam, ufagi bathroom enja. Ufake this before she passed away. My uncle has ever since then done more refurbishments. I don't know what the house looks like today. Mara, that is the kind of thing that happens over time with people that start out lowly, that make ends, you know, bapusha here and there, they live hand to mouth. They keep on building. I told you my grandfather was a construction worker, but he was also a welder. All different kinds of things, the furniture. That was his job. And he had a little garage. Oh, I remember that sound like all too well. Every time I hear welding, I just remember growing up. Let's go fair. Cutting through steel. It became white noise. It's not that anymore. When they were making this windy house, they were welding all throughout the days when they were making it. And the neighbors finally complained on some, that noise of welding is so loud. And I remember being like, you are spoiled, you white people encircling us. Because we grew up in a Kasi where this was a noise every single day because it was a man's career. It was a man's career. Every day. 365. What do you mean? It's too loud. Just 4 days of building. It's too loud. It's too loud. How long are they gonna keep on building for? Yeah, when you grow up in the house of a construction builder, a welder, you will hear that noise every day until it doesn't even wake you up like them chickens. You sleep right through it. I would have been okay marrying a welder or a mechanic. If at all, my dad was a welder and a mechanic. And if at all, I had known what it was like to live in a house with that beige tiling, plastic tiling. If I had known what it was like to live in a housing in a built-in cupboards until 5 years in Lula, living in a house in a sand, heaped because they start a project and don't finish it. If at all my family was like that, if at all I basically was my uncle's daughter, like my cousin was my uncle's daughter. The reason why my cousin came at me like a ton of bricks was because she was complacent like her mom, actually not even willing to take it to get a driver's license. But then was she not best friends with me? She got influenced by other millennials with whom she was on the come up or other Gen X's. And so everybody else who pillars wrong about gonna akaveta. Mara in the beginning when about blom like a flower. Make like a flower and blom. Just like a mom. But she was like, yo, this is 2020 whatever. This is 2015. This is 29. So no more are women respectable when they just marry well. Or they marry a guy that's gonna always take care of them. I need to get my act together. She got her act together only because she coveted me and everyone else that she was meeting, that was studying, that was this, that was the other. Blow manje fella like her mom and not even get a driver's license until and people around her what gonna add jela to imiti witchcraft. Otherwise she would have been content to blow manje in lowly places while a man a connector a put her together into alukisa a shafola go fit 10 years in jefe it's not details. And then on year 11 go back, congratulations that we can finally get tiles. I'm not that girl. Go Winchester. She built it Lena off plan from the ground. And the basic skeleton that we moved into, even though paving, it was just gravel. Full kitchen, fully tiled, painted. You know these townhouse complexes that you actually be viewing that are newly built. It looked like that. No finish. Even though it's a jungle out there. It was just like a wilderness. That thing was huge. My mom could have built a massive house on there over the years. She kept losing homes. We would have a very beautiful house in Winchester Hills today. Maybe that's like 2 stories with a swimming pool. It was a massive yard where there was plenty of room for extension. And after a couple of years of living there, she indeed did extend and added an extra lounge area and a patio, because of the fact that she couldn't afford paving. My mom was a horticulturist in the worst way. Gardening through Bashimani, so we had a very beautiful garden that she used to tend to every single day handsomely. And that's not every single couple of days, like weekend. I remember ring almost every second week. The ferns. Yeah, my mom planted beautiful gardens. And after I garden that yard looked unfamiliar. Paving. If my mom did not lose sabotage and whatnot. If she didn't lose all that, then we're looking at paving and the house was going to be extended even more. It was going to grow up in height, a second story, and in girth, more rooms. And of course, swimming pool, it was big enough for us to fit a swimming pool at Jardin. Our opposite neighbor never swimming pool in a yard when I was as big as ours. Yeah. It was going to be a big fat baza of a very beautiful house. The yards were massive, big plot of property, and it would only ever skyrocket in terms of property values because even though it was a new area that was selling for relatively cheaply, it ultimately became an industrial hub At the same time, ba the Glen Mall in the same neighborhood, well, more or less, not very far. Ba garage, we used to walk very far just to get bread. Ba and was it an accessor or an engine garage? Listen, just one house down from where we stayed. So basically, it was a house that was in close proximity to a convenience store. It was in close proximity to Sasol. Frankly, I don't even know what it would be retailing for today. Yeah, but these things only came up once we moved out. Mara, that house, Eleako Winchester Hills, what I'm trying to explain to you is that even though it was bought off plan and we moved in, it was basically brand spanking new. One of these townhouses in these streets because I cannot go in selling fully tiled. Abaludi decorated very beautifully. We've once been and they replaced everything because we were insured. However, my cousin where they used to stay in downtown Johannesburg and they had to buy stuff from scratch because my uncle couldn't afford insurance. That's the kind of family that my uncle was, Mara. What I'm trying to get at is that when a woman is already accustomed to a certain kind of lifestyle, a poor little no-brainer. On some, I'm poor, I can love you. Listen, you are not in my league. You're not in my league. Men can take women out of poverty, but women cannot downgrade themselves having been in wealth or in means. With a guy that don't make any kind of sense, you will always be disquieted because men are the ones that are supposed to show us ropes. Men are the ones that show women ropes. And so because amadoda yibo abasifundisayo zonke lezi ropes. Bongwana, lemamets. Because men are the ones that show us ropes. Okasiti downgrading in the spirit of wanting love, but you see, women need love. And so therefore, it is important to find that if at all you're a woman whose mom has already been shown ropes, and you grew up in a household of ropes, for you to seek the Lord's face to meet a man that is going to love you in spite of being able to show you ropes. So you're not a silly little measly, unbecoming Eskimo in an igloo, in a big chunky, hollow, echoing house where a man is just absent, full of mistresses, full of dalliances, full of trash, but he's also full of Gucci. How in the world do you get the best of both worlds? Only God can give you that. Only the Lord can make a man realize that imali ingazongi mosha la ejardini. My ex-boyfriend was a dude that was not of very many means, and he's the one that inherited essentially Medi. Yeah, Spusiso. Remember I called that guy Spusiso, the one that passed me up because he was a KPMG employee, that it was a graduate with a BCom accounting honors on a CA track, and I was just this chick at a call center. Wangi Bonanje is somebody that's gonna tank his stats, but he had never seen the rest of my lifestyle. I was supposed to be immediate that guy. My ex that came later on was the one that basically benefited from a chick that was already shown ropes by Abazali, not so much guys. A chick that was already shown ropes. My boyfriend inherited her. My ex was not from a family of academics. My ex was the one improving upon once he started making money. My ex, indeed, the mom and the dad were the kinds until finally you buy a house that has a swimming pool. Mara, it took years to get there. Traveling around with parents that are poor, but the dad of which keeps a wife in a good little bunch until abantwana grow up to see a family home being built. Mara, the elaborate lifestyle. My mom used to give my ex the Empetza Tommy Hilfiger that she felt were too snug on her. Even though my ex was of course skinnier than my mom. My mom was like a big mama eventually at some point. Because Nelly, a guy, he made them fit. He got given a whole chunk of Tommy Hilfiger shirts by my mom, and he would wear them to work after I get because they were my mom's size. I think he used to alter them. So you don't get to grab a guy that comes from lowliness in comparison to you and then make him fit, because then he will show you flames. You will think that you love him too much. It's not supposed to happen that way, the other way around. That's why my ex-boyfriend disrespected the living daylights out of me as soon as he started making money, because he was sick and tired of dealing with a chick that was thicker and bigger than him. He came into my space and my life, and I upgraded him instead of him upgrading me. And one that found me lowly, that was supposed to bring me up with him. Not because he didn't have feelings, but because I wasn't in his league. And the one who inherited the chick that would out here show him the ropes rather. Once he started making money, flames. That one, I already had a driver's license, right? He would I would imagine that if at all, however, I had met him before getting a driver's license, because I took myself to driving school. And I don't without driver because he was the one on an alcohol. I was already taking myself to lessons, sound driver. By then, I would then drive around these streets of Joburg, Hande, Getzia, my sister. I was essentially already a woman at a certain level. Once you're at a certain level, a man that is higher than you must be the one to take you up. But you cannot bring yourself down as a woman. But a man must necessarily be willing to take a woman even out of Amaplazi. And if at all they're not willing to do that, listen, you will meet some of the biggest and baddest chicks in the game that you love, that however are poor, and you will pass them up in favor of women of clout. And these ladies of clout, seeing as men these days don't make like my uncle, neither like my dad, out here upgrading women, you will find yourself miserable and without love, without adoration in your marriages, and then you will nar ukarabo. Let's Kenya. You will go and fra and nar women that are your heart now. And now you're willing to acknowledge I'm going for feelings because in a marriage. Because men feel overwhelmed, that's the thing, by women who are materially very strong. They feel like basadi bana kirikaka. And so because men struggle that's why they ought to be treating mistresses so much better than their wives. Bana basotlecha when they're dealing sabasadi. Because even though you marry for clout, you insist ukuthi ufuna umfazi. If at all you're driving now, you're driving Land Rover, ufunumfazi whose dad is a president, if your daughter is the daughter of a president, if you are Donald Trump and your daughter is Ivanka, then you better marry that woman off to Jared Kushner. Because you cannot expect Ivanka to go and date some dude that just made a whole chunk of his millions from the entertainment industry as a rapper. And she's like, but I'm in love, daddy. Listen, Otto fraza Donald Trump, and not only is she gonna fraza Donald Trump, Otto fraza Ivanka at some point. Because if a woman is an heiress, Paris Hilton, she has got to understand that being that I am an heiress, it's gonna be that much harder to marry within society. But I have to. It comes highly recommended in society for women of society to marry men of society. But men are the ones that can grab women out of the dregs and make them women of society. And so therefore honorable. That's why the royal family is able to go and grab a chick from South Africa and make her a bride, even though she's not of UK blood and is a mixed. You know how with Meghan Markle or whatever, she was historically divorced. So that was the first era in the royal family. And then she was like half black, half white. And some people over there had issues with Tabayawari. She's got like black blood, racist issues. But it didn't matter because now today, Kim Musadiwa, is it Prince Harry? Yeah, it's Harry's daughter. Not daughter, but wife. I get the other one, Charles. Prince, Kimang, the kids of Princess Diana, man. The younger one. The one that was born in 1984 with the red hair, umthathile lo mfazi and was like anginandaba ngizomthanda. And now today, even though Balitu baphoxiwa get the world, everybody ought to be picking bones with the royal family. Nonetheless, that woman has been made she has been given echelon by in daughter that made a decision that I'm marrying her whether or not you like it. I don't care if you're giving me grief for tabaho. Divorced men are the one that give women clout. Men are the one bahlatswang basadi. But if at all, Princess Charlotte, Nwanawa, Prince, it's not Prince Charles, because that's the one that's now King Charles, but Prince Harry, the older one, man, and right now, listen, I'm not trying to remember, okay, like this and chill, no. The older dude, the one that is, I guess, in the line to become king one day, type establishment thing, imagine now, say Charlotte, I decided to just go out there in the wilderness and just felt like just lingering because she fell in love. Hey, he was a skater boy. She said, see you later, but as she ought. I decided to go to your July and laksasa la majena alpha. I decided or Osinyan, never mind mrepa mara, just some dude that's struggling, but yes, like it is cute and he gets me. Yeah, but this is a princess. It matters. These things absolutely matter. And Mamela, Asana, Nsadiwa Joseph was a woman of society prepared for somebody in the elite of Egypt. That chick would never under heaven have ever been given by Pharaoh or anyone to Joseph while Joseph was still in prison. Joseph had to become a man of society. He had to become a man of clout. He had to become a man of affluence for Asenath to be given over to him. He had to raise himself. He had to be made the prime minister of Egypt, second to no one but Pharaoh. For a woman to be given over to him that was of society, therefore women of clout, women of means, and women of wealth. Stop trying to build men and make it fit. Stop trying to marry below you. It's not supposed to work the other way around. A king can grab a lowly peasant girl and make her a queen, but a queen cannot grab a peasant boy and make him a king. Xerxes was able to take Esther, but Esther could never under heaven, for crying out loud, have been any kind of safe if at all. She was a princess born in a house and just marry one of them small little Persian boys doing their rounds in the streets because she's in love now. It not only would have been a taboo, but it would have severely downgraded her and likely caused her even to be cast out from her royal lineage. She would have lost her clout. She would have lost her standing amidst high society. So I personally have a family in Andaba and Ndabewuti. They're my lineage and they're of a certain cloth, and because of them putting me down, Sekishalaki poor boys my old ministry ke tswile mo yona because ne ke latetse morago ke bana ba senang mesebetsi because ba bona nna ke sena mosebetsi and ba re nna ke tla o shela karabo abuti o botla nthusa ko ntlong e senang di-tiles ankhulanga mina go ngena ma-tiles ejardini so ngicela nje wena o nang le jarata e yawning e nang fela le di-weeds growing that you don't even pull out because ha ona energy ya garden ya teng kopa se tlo mpeya ko ntlong e senang all that paving it will senya my tires they're gonna burst they're gonna wear out my tire treads before it's time they're gonna make me skid I don't want to skid ngicela nje ungazongifaka ejardini engena tiles engena paving mara ba batla unkinya never mind ko jarateng esenang paving mara ke lo dula ko roomong or some townhouse nje fela at 41 ya 2-bed abuti listen I just told you that my mom is an executive and I also just told you that my older sister is a Harvard graduate and at some point she was an executive at Vodacom. I live very young. I would have if all my family had not took me up and disowned me even though I didn't have it coming, I didn't deserve it. I would by today also likely be an executive. You don't get to rock up, got two bobo, and put me in a townhouse in Defela 2-bed and say at least Karabo you have something. Mamela, I'm like Asenath. God has made me regal. A man cannot marry me that is of low society today unless he becomes the second most powerful man in Egypt. And I have been preserved by, if you will, the pharaoh of the land to marry a man of society. And it just so happens that one day somebody interprets dreams from jail and then becomes a man of society. And only then was it then appropriate for me to be given to him as a husband. So I don't doubt that some poor boy that's eating dough today dust. I don't doubt that some dude out here eating sugar out of a straw, just chewing on it and sucking it on it, can one day become my husband. I don't doubt it. But he would first have to be made very, very opulent. Very, very prolific first. So yeah, you would have to go from rags to riches to take me as a wife. But now today, while you are in rags, you are not going to be my husband, not because I'm classist, but because of where I grew up. But now, because people look at me like, now I know myself. That's the thing. I used to date beneath me. I did. On the come up. Guys, the ropes. Better Tommy Hilfiger. And then it literally bit me in the nether regions because as soon as that same guy became a man of society, a man of influence, Wangi pasta is shade because men hate and to my ex. I was ace gaga to him, but what did he do? What did this guy to whom I was his gaga? However, I was so ride or die that listen, I taught that guy even how to drive. The way what did he do? He not only passed me shade once he started making money, he also went and married a woman on a samobate when he had nothing. A chick that drove by him like he ain't Jack, even though they had feelings for each other. When he was working in the call center, she was like, I like you, you're cute and everything. And this guy even he went so far as to confess to me that she's the woman that he has ever loved the most. So essentially he made me feel like I was a placeholder and he was settling for me. If it was up to him, he would be with that chick. So that chick was not prepared to be with him. He went and treated in a very ice cold atmosphere. With blizzards, with thunderstorms, with rainstorms, with peals of thunder. And then went and grabbed the gold digger on Nasamobatle like a queen. Once he made money and she was like, okay, I can be with you now. My character flaws. Where in Chiki didn't want to be with you when you had nothing. I built him, I taught him how to drive, I made him the kind of man that other women want to be with. And then he went and married the woman that passed him up during the time when he didn't have anything. That's how, under heaven, the stuff works. I'm not hate ikaka, but they will be quiet when you're busy being the wind beneath the wings on zo tusa ofepa o thala di petrol mo hara di koloi tsa banna that are pipsqueaks ezingaka. But as soon as akula lo muntu beef up, make like a balloon and get some air in him, he will literally pass you shade and marry some chick that you will think, but she's just a teller, but she's just a flight attendant. Degree, but she does not know my life. Had to be my clout, had to be my this. You will complain as a woman on Zola, or the namby pamby, utlebo toko, or toza, or the maraki motusite abuti. Abalonyala fluff ball and put Gucci on its body, put Gucci on its toes, put Gucci on its hair strand. Literally, I know relaxa mriwa chiri ena. Gucci relaxa. Motona, otro apesa osi ona penti ya Gucci. Abalomo bear on his social media. That's something that I used to complain about with my ex. Baby, I'm on Facebook. Please start a Facebook account so I can say in a relationship with my baby. Yeah. I was like, I'm on Facebook. Please start a Facebook account. So that, little dude, yeah, so that I and you can be like in a relationship with, let's say his name was Temba Villagas. In a relationship with Temba Villagas. Karabo Hlongwane is in Cranberry K. That's what I used to call my Facebook profile name. Is in a relationship with Themba Vilakazi. With Themba Vilakazi, wabantu wathi OC. I keep at Facebook, and I don't want social media. I don't want to put my face on there. I don't want upapa njengabonke labantu bapapayo ababusy nge social media. And it was in the beginnings of social media being all hectic. Not everybody had to be all up in that gangster joint. So okay, it's alright. It's alright, baby, if you don't want to do social media. It's about him and his just unwillingness to put me on his socials. But you see, it was about and then how did I find out that he married the girl that he used to give me grief concerning? Yeah, it's like it. But Instagram one day, I'm in my sister's Instagram, and I'm out here going through my sister's Instagram, and then I realized that my sister commented on something of my ex-boyfriend, Themba Vilakazi, right? And I'm like, my sister is friends, the level of betrayal. My sister is friends with Themba Vilakazi and she commented on his page. So I go to that just to double check if at all this is the Themba Vilakazi that I used to date, or is my sister thoroughly out here betraying me? Because she had made this comment just recently, just yesterday. Like she had just made this comment. It was in the center of all of this heartbreak that I'm enduring right now. So I click on it to check if my sister's out here betraying me or if this is some other Themba Vilakazi. And I click on this name that's hovering where my sister commented on a photograph where she's making comments on Themba Vilakazi's whatever. Listen, I was on Instagram. It was before Instagram in not out, insisting that you have an account in order for you to look at anything at all. Back then, you could go into Instagram and check people's things out without being logged on. And I was checking out my sister's stuff on Instagram, realized that she has commented on something I got Themba Vilakazi. I go inside Themba Vilakazi's profile to confirm if at all my sister has really out here betrayed me like that. And so Pizuwale ex-boyfriend that I am at very extreme odds with. And I guess who is the profile pic in his socials? This dude that was like, I don't want no Facebook. Facebook is modern day Instagram. Listen, it's that thing. He was like, I give about social media. I can talk about my hectic. Profile pic was of a photograph of Patricia. I'm meeting Patricia. My ex-boyfriend's profile pic in his social media was snapping, not even his own photo. My snapper had this chick, and I was like, you married her? You married the chick that you used to give me, like you, I believe he used to cheat on me with her. Mara na mo phone la masihu nga mo kopa ditšhelete tsa go ya ka dikatiba tsa di-Durban July. Ke ha ke kwatile ke sfoto blowing steam. Nithi he, you and this chick, it's either me or her. Eventually he took me. He dropped her like a hot potato and all of his exploits with her for me. Wakwata lo Patricia. And I was like, okay, sharp, get right. And I thought that this was over. And then years after we break up, and listen, I don't mind because I can't make my own life. This guy would not let me get my own life. So I don't get yes, down the line, I'm in pain, I'm writhing, I'm suffering, I'm suffocating. Life, listen, don't add up. And I go in my sister's Instagram out of nostalgia because my family was breaking me. I then realized my sister is friends and out here commenting on the page of a guy that's got the same name as my ex. I go in there, find out that it is my ex, and then I find out in there that he married Patricia. And not only did he marry Patricia, there was a child over there, a firstborn kid, but also over and above marrying Patricia, her pic was the profile pic when I was lamenting during the time when we were dating, that start a Facebook page so that you and I can acknowledge each other on our socials. And then once we break up, he not only starts a page of a social media platform, but then puts that chick as a profile pic. But listen, she wasn't ride or die. She didn't care to be with you when you were grinding, when you had nothing, when you were too bob, when you had a loose tooth and you had to put a veneer in there. When you were at just swabba fight, talk all the day long. When you were drooling for a lifestyle. I was there out here, patting your chin from all that drool. Boy, I brought you to a point where it is that you would be the kind of man that other women want. And all I asked for in that time was for you to acknowledge me on your social media. And you told me you don't like social media. And then one day I find out by happenstance that you have a social media. And the profile photo of your social media is the woman that now today he is divorcing, or she is divorcing him. Abasa, he's so concerned. This guy has got the kind of mindset on some, nobody's gonna wanna marry me. So clearly, but divorced or but divorced. Mara, now that Bako divorcing or divorced, he's out just singing me. Now that Bako divorcing or but divorced, or he's out just literally sending me witchcraft along the lines of, I'd like to call you sometime. I'd like you to need me one time. I'd like to have you all the time. Oh, I would like to call you. Whoa, he thinks he's a freshly ground. Oh, busy. What would you do if you knew the truth? Oh, what would you do if I told you the story of my life? Would you find me overly familiar towards you? Would you call me cruel and send me aside to the birds? Freshly at ground, I'd like DM. Take a little dangerous. Touch your mess and now, boy, I'm not the same chick anymore. And as Mario, I had 7 lives, I'm now on 2, and you're the one that shot 3 of them down, so no thank you. I would end you. I want to bagini. They would be like, why did you get back together with that crazy woman? Cause now she's killed you. I would end you. What would you do if I called you? I would tell you, save your life, please. I'm dangerous now. I'm now dangerous. Saying dangerous, I'm not the same chick. You don't get to go and break a woman, crush her into a fine powder, pulverize her, I'm schnaffer like a line of cocaine. But what would you do if I told you this? What would you do if I held your hand and laid you down? Would you call me insensitive and say that I deserve to die? Yeah, I would. What must I do with all these feelings holding me back inside? What must I do with all these precious hours dreaming of you and I? That's what I would do, but to save your life. Ways again, spare yourself from Hades. Don't have to be facing no God later, because you're not even gonna get justice for that murder, given that I'm going to heaven. You bring women to that point, that sweet spot where it is that snapped women who kill. Listen, I'm not gonna do that, but you see, dating down produces a man out here grabbing a chick that is just and then that he went and married. She wasn't a career girl, she wasn't an academic, she wasn't the flight attendant type chick setup thing. That's why she used to work. She didn't compare. She didn't come close to me, at least in terms of those kinds of statistics. She didn't compare. Clout, that's not like me. She didn't have academic neither career clout like I had academic and career clout. So essentially, there's a guy that passed me up because I was in season without that clout. And then I ended up dating down somebody that basically appreciated a big chunky Scotland chick embraced me. While one that was frankly poor. I don't know why you're insisting that a dude out should be buying you the outfits at Devon July when you're broke too like a leg. But I guess women get to demand that you wine dine them and put expensive apparel on them while men don't get to demand the same thing. So when you are to be taking care of a dude, one day confusion when he marries a chick that dissed him and wanted nothing to do with him when he had nothing. Men do stuff like that. They thoroughly outed the chick in high school that used to pass them shade, chew bubble gum, spit it out on his face, give him bilharzia, put it in his hair so he had to shave it. And then one day when this dude is doing really well because she is the cheerleader that he's always wanted, because she is that popular chick in school that all the guys wanted that he couldn't grasp, now that he can grasp her. Listen, this idiot will marry her. Men are weird like that. Women that have displayed themselves as entirely unable to be loyal, they will marry them purely because I couldn't get you before and now I'm gonna marry you now that I've made money. Now I can afford to be with a chick that can't be with men that don't have money. You will literally marry a woman that will show you flames just to prove Uguti, now that I've made money I can get whatever I want. Bese agravaza, do you understand? Or when whatever might be the thing, that people enter into that don't be making any kind of sense. Bese Kenya ukarabo like you're a country in Africa. And I'm like, yazen hambani ngamatswape eno azokhishwa qwa anza twanza. Got humiliation, so cease hostilities. Mara you won't, it's alright. I'm here for you. Yankipa in nonsense na matranka wenu. Linyatsitse. Mara family yaka ya khoswaba ya 2 bopo ya 2 rand 50 ya 7 cents. Ha is a family ya 7 cents. Moka kahlazwa ke sama yobo batla ngomthetsa lobola. She could be embarrassed. Uriyo, that's the kind of man that my daughter finally after ukusutleha nje fela at the age of 40 something finally marries. Anganbuka, out of here. Because Naya, she would never settle for that. The goal that don't make any kind of sense first and foremost. Secondly, banna nje fela that not personally. Next na tabalebon. Anike khola mara ki mo Una lo mo nkwatetseng wa skwenya meno, wa mpandlana. The mama would be like, yo, Yeah, mara kampandlane ya teng this polygamist enang le AIDS. Una le tjhelete however. And that's the thing that I'm getting at. Women who are lowly can indeed be married off to men of society. Mara, you will be a miserable, ill-spirited, crazy lady like my mom if you are taken from poverty and put in a palace and the king therein does not dote over you. If the king therein merely adorns you with crowns and jewels, but does not adorn you with actual affection, Utroba just as women accustomed to the finer things in life, but you will have no love, and so you will be whatever is going on with my mom. I'll have no fury like a woman scorned. It's a sweet spot, do you understand? If you're a poor chick, go and marry a poor dude because vele la tshwanelana. But if you're a chick with clout, you gotta wait for a man that has more clout than you. And the more clout you have, the more difficult it's going to be for a man to find you that is loftier. But in Christ, katapelo, just like Asenath married Joseph. The more affluent you are as a woman, the more you come from a family very heavy, like a sack of potatoes, the more you come from all that girth as a woman, the more you need to be godly. And it's unfortunate because the Bible says that it is easier for a camel to enter the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of God. So therefore that can imply that it is also easier for a camel to enter the eye of a needle than for a rich woman to enter the kingdom of God. Rich chicks got lots of shade to be passing in these streets. They be out cracking an ugly whip, thinking they're more important than everybody else. But absent of true piety, absent of true godliness, it's a gamble, baby girl. It's a game of roulette. It's poker. You could win, you could lose, and you don't know who is pulling a poker face or if they're genuinely nervous. It's a jungle for women of affluence, influence, clout, and that's why God made me poor, to marry well. And so if at all you don't want a gamble, because indeed with Asenath it was a gamble. Asenath was miraculously awarded a Hebrew man that was pious and godly, that also became wealthy overnight. Listen, she won a jackpot. Mara, queens in palaces, wealthy chicks, women of clout suffer severely from loneliness, because their husbands are aloof. Their husbands are aloof, their husbands are cold, and their husbands secretly long for a weak woman to take care of. They love sending little garage attendants and casuals that work at clothing stores on shopping sprees. Their husbands are absolutely besotted. We're taking overseas on trips, just sending them to all over the world. You will remember Storisa, Proverbs' wife, who actually had an affair with Edwin Sodi. Yeah, because it's Sodi, I get to say it like a snob. Edwin, of which prided himself in hitting that celebrity's wife. Listen, breaking up a family. Edwin was married at that stage, so too was that chick. But Edwin prided himself in taking chicks that were not as wealthy and with chicks that were not with husbands that were as wealthy as he was. Frankly, out of their zone, where they were perfectly comfortably married or perfectly comfortable in relationships with boyfriends or even single, but because they did not have as much money. Close your eyes and just go by, and we'll go there, baby. And when a woman is introduced to that kind of a life, a tube of 2 cents. Yeah, a wealthy man on a discretion will say, I'll take your wife from you and I will take her from you by simply giving her a globe and say, pick where you want to go today and you will be there in 24 hours. They say a woman cheats on her husband, travels overseas, gets sent on shopping sprees, gets euphoria. You will remember Temptation, that movie, Harley, and what he did with Judith. Grabbed the chick with a poor dude. The two of them came from the farm. He was just a pharmacist, and that dude was a millionaire, and she thought of him as a phenomenal guy, and he introduced her to shopping sprees, etc. Stories might be fictional, but that's how women are. If at all they are unregulated by the Holy Spirit, if at all they're not content and comfortable in whatever situation they're in, and men as well. They have no discretion when they've got lots of wealth. They enjoy spending on poor chicks. They love to go and grab ichering and a luto and put a boot on her. Ya Gucci. Olo be a boot in Jefela. If you can't come out tanging, ya Chanel. Chirena isoka ebona sieta. Say one, half of a shoe. Not even both of them. That cost 10,000 rands. Delete 2 doesn't I can take it 20 tau. Proper. They're so expensive that you buy one shoe, not both.